Why do some athletes improve dramatically while others plateau despite receiving the same coaching? Why do athletes who train seriously hit performance ceilings? Having worked as a physical therapist with athletes for over 15 years, I've faced these questions repeatedly. Most often, the cause isn't lack of effort or talent difference. The problem lies in coaching based on fundamental misconceptions about the body. Correcting form, strengthening muscles, increasing range of motion, these seemingly correct approaches sometimes actually halt athletic development. Sports settings still often emphasize making movements uniform. However, motor control research shows movement isn't merely form, but emerges from interactions between environment, task, and body state. Bernstein stated in his 1967 book, "The coordination and regulation of movements. That movement is not fixed reproduction, but a process of finding optimal solutions within variation. In other words, there's no single correct form for any movement. Nevertheless, we ignore athletes' physical characteristics and try fitting them to ideal forms. The result? Movement temporarily becomes organized, but performance doesn't improve or leads to injury. The body isn't made of parts. Strengthening weak muscles or stretching tight areas isn't wrong, but it's insufficient alone. Movement relies on neural integration, not individual muscles. Carl Newell showed in 1986 that movement self-organizes within constraints of organism, task, and environment. The body isn't a collection of parts, but a system reorganized within movement. Without understanding this and repeatedly making partial corrections, movements become stiff, unnecessary. Co-contractions increase, compensatory patterns strengthen, resulting in the state of training without improvement. What stops athletic performance isn't effort. Many plateauing athletes I've seen in clinical and sports settings were actually the most dedicated. The issue isn't effort quantity, but how we conceptualize the body, whether viewing it as something to train or as a system adapting to environment. This perspective difference decisively separates coaching quality. When performance stalls, most settings first implement form correction, changing elbow angles, aligning knee directions, adjusting pelvic tilt. This seems rational but contains a major misconception. There's no single correct answer for movement. Bernstein's famous degrees of freedom problem noted that human bodies have countless joint degrees of freedom. Even throwing the same ball muscle, activity and joint angle combinations vary slightly each time, yet results remain stable. Movement generates optimal solutions moment by moment within variation, not as fixed patterns. Yet coaching often tries fitting to ideal forms. This moment restricts athletes' self-organization abilities. Movement self-organizes within constraints. Newell's 1986. Constraints-led approach explained movement through 3 constraint interactions. Organism constraints like physical characteristics, strength, flexibility, and injury history. Environmental constraints like surfaces. Opponents, gravity and equipment, and task constraints like rules, objectives, and speed. Movement naturally emerges within these constraints. For instance, hip joint morphology, foot arch characteristics, and trunk stiffness differ between athletes. Even identical squats won't produce the same optimal knee direction or center of gravity position for everyone. Forcing uniformity makes movements temporarily clean-looking, but creates internal compensations. Gabriele Wolf showed in 2001 how attention direction affects performance. Her research compared internal focus on body parts like extend your arm versus external focus on results like throw the ball far, finding external focus, superior for performance and learning effects. Overemphasizing form details interferes with automated motor control, making movements awkward. Trying to move correctly can itself reduce performance. Excessive form correction increases muscle co-contraction. Electromyography research from the 2010s showed anxiety and excessive conscious intervention increase. Simultaneous antagonist muscle contraction. Increased co-contraction reduces movement efficiency, increases energy consumption, and raises joint compression forces. resulting in bodies that feel heavy despite effort, a typical state where performance doesn't improve. Based on dynamical systems theory research by Newell and colleagues in 2006, movement variation isn't noise but an adaptation resource. Movements differing slightly each time evidences body optimization for situations. Yet coaching settings often judge this variation as wobbling or immaturity and try eliminating it, thereby cutting adaptive capacity itself. Correcting form isn't inherently bad. The problem is trying to fixate it. Movement emerges within variation, within constraints, within unconscious adjustments. What stops performance is the oversimplified body view that poor form prevents improvement. Muscle strength is important, but strength doesn't equal performance. What I've repeatedly seen, clinically and in practice, are athletes whose numbers improved, but movements didn't improve. Behind this lies missing perspective on neural adaptation. Research since the 1950s has progressed on early changes from strength training. Elwood Henneman reported motor unit recruitment order in 1957. The size principle, showing strength output, depends not just on muscle mass, but which motor units recruit in what order. Roger Enoka stated in 1988 that early strength improvement stages involve neural adaptation more than muscle hypertrophy. Initial strength training changes aren't muscle thickness, but how nerves are used. Most sports aren't determined by maximal strength, but by timing, force development rate, coordination, and force transmission efficiency. Vladimir Zatsiorsky stated in his 1994 book, Science and Practice of Strength Training, that strength is specific. Different training modalities produce different neural adaptations. Leg press strength gains don't necessarily transfer to jumping or sprinting because neural firing patterns differ. Paavo Komi's 2002 research on stretch shortening cycles showed neural control is crucial for utilizing elastic energy. SSC movements require appropriate pre-contraction, reflexive contraction, and brief force production. Even with strength, mismatched timing lets energy escape, creating the state of being strong but unable to jump. Excessive strength focus or anxiety increases antagonist co-contraction. Marcus Gruber and colleagues reported in 2013 that muscle activation pattern efficiency affects performance. Increased co-contraction disrupts force directionality, reduces energy efficiency, and hardens movements. Consequently, even improving strength doesn't improve performance. Motor learning research calls how training affects transfer to other tasks, transfer. Edward Thorndike stated in 1901 that learning transfers more with higher similarity, the identical elements theory. This principle applies to sports. Strength gains in environments far removed from competitive movements show limited transfer. Therefore, phenomena occur where weight increased, repetitions increased, physique grew larger, yet performance didn't improve. Strength matters, but ignoring neural adaptation, timing, coordination, task specificity, and transfer means strength doesn't convert to performance. What stops performance is the oversimplification that getting stronger is enough. Understanding that the body reconstructs within movement, refines within variation, and strengthens within load recovery cycles changes perspectives on coaching and practice. If this exploration of why certain coaching methods fail resonated with you, please subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. Thanks for